characters from their games. But they're not just for show. Inside the base is an NFC tag that can be scanned in certain games for special effects, like giving access to special items such as this Longhorn Ranch paraglider fabric. For Tears of the Kingdom, we're not really worried about the special items they drop, since those are either too rare or don't have any use. But every amiibo drops a set of materials that matches the theme of the character. For example, Wind Waker Link drops fish, Zelda drops various plants, and Wolf Link drops... Most materials don't do anything for us, but the Twilight Princess Link amiibo has a chance to drop Fleet Lotus seeds. This is a high tier speed up ingredient, so it can be cooked to get level 3 speed food, which makes Link run a lot faster. Amiibo usage in speedruns has always been a hot topic for debate. I've gotten plenty of comments dismissing my Breath of the Wild runs for using amiibo, despite the fact that in many of those cases I also held the no amiibo world record. Some people believe that it's cheating and pay to win, since it uses items that have to be bought separately, whereas others argue that it's a built-in feature in the game, so using amiibo is fair play. Personally, I think the pay-to-win aspect is pretty much non-existent because amiibo cards or NFC tags are very easy to get cheaply, and with the existence of leaderboard filters, there's an easy way to view both amiibo and no amiibo times separately. It's a gray area, and not everybody is going to be happy, but I haven't ever seen too much of a problem with it. When I started running Breath of the Wild, amiibo was already established as the go-to for any percent. Part of the reason for that was because it reduced RNG in the route. There was a crate with a 50% chance to spawn a banana that was necessary for no amiibo runs, so having the ability to scan for attack of ingredients instead was really convenient and allowed more runs to continue. And I think that if amiibo reduces the randomness in a speedrun without bypassing a lot of the routing decisions or gameplay, then it's a positive thing. That isn't always the case. In Tears of the Kingdom, the Fleet Lotus seed saves time because it gives us speed up ingredients without having to detour to get hot-footed frogs. This adds a little bit of RNG, but the odds aren't that bad, so it's just a slightly more direct path through the Great Sky Island. But it doesn't stop there. Daruk mostly drops flint and rock salt, but has a small chance to drop rubies, sapphires, and topazes. If you haven't seen it before, gems in this game create huge explosions that are very effective at killing large groups of enemies, which trivializes the army fight. So amiibo can also be used to spawn a gem anywhere we want, but honestly, there's a guaranteed ruby in the Pondside Cave near Fuse, so the alternative isn't too far out of the way, around 30 seconds or so. And for most of this game's lifespan, Daruk has been a meme, since the idea of scanning for a 13% drop 15 plus minutes into the run doesn't get most people jumping for joy. But time save is time save, and as the run gets more optimized, those 30 to 40 seconds from skipping the cave become more appealing. But this is a no amiibo video, so let's jump into the newest additions to the run that helped close the gap. The main reason any percent times have been dropping so drastically in the last few months is a glitch called Arrow Smuggle. If you've seen 1.2 speedruns, you'll recognize it as the crazy mine through the air trick that made current patch neat, until they patched it. But wasn't that 1.2 exclusive? Arrow Smuggle is a state in which Link's bow is desynced with its model, which leads to some pretty weird and useful effects, like immediately canceling jump buttons. It's possible to set up in every version of the game, even 1.2.1, but the method isn't always the same. And the thing that made 1.2 unique is that they unintentionally introduced a really fast way to set up and fix a different glitch, aptly named Quick Smuggle. But aside from Quick Smuggle, we have Zoggle Overload Arrow Smuggle, Like Arrow Smuggle, Shock Arrow Smuggle, and I'm sure there are more that I don't know or remember. But the one to keep an eye on in this case is Zoggle Overload Arrow Smuggle. Back in August, Moz, who has been a huge part of strat development for Tears of the Kingdom,
What are these guys?
decided to look into 1.0 arrow smuggling.
Oh, they're just sat near us
It's been
still.
known to be possible, but wasn't really considered for speedruns since the setup required.
Why does it feel like they changed their appearance?
Standing still, with time that could be spent making progress towards completing the Great Sky.
Ah, yeah, they're unique here.
But the idea was
They're zebra.
Use the Zobo glitch to duplicate weapons, shields, bows at the same time.
Dang, look at the abs on this guy.
By dropping enough weapons to take up the space behind Link, preventing any further weapons from being dropped. Then, after a very quick unpause pause, you drop more weapons anyway, and instead of simply putting them back in the inventory like usual, it duplicates them onto Link's model. The duplicated weapons can actually deal extra damage, which is how we kill Ganondorf so quickly at the end of the run, despite being a single spear. Once enough sticks, shields, and bows are attached to Link, the game becomes overloaded and starts to fall apart. You only want to overload it enough to get the bow to drop to the floor, since that's the necessary.
Holy shit, it's so hot in here.
After which, use the bow for weapon. It's almost stay active for Third setup requires 3 rounds of juggling. Takes about 20 seconds, but initial setups were not quite as optimized. Once it's set up, benefits are extremely obvious. Able to cancel jump slashes lets us fly through the air. Coupled with a bomb jump off a slope, becomes really efficient for early game movement, where there aren't rockets or auto build. It also doesn't require any mech-make, which makes it quite a bit faster for flipping out of balance compared to the old jump slash cancel method, using the ability wheel and shield swap. As long as the new arrow flights and clips saved enough time to offset the setup, it would be worth it in the long run. Or the short run if you think about it. And it seemed like it definitely would be, once everything was ironed out and faster setups were found. At the time, All Thunders was really popular, and a lot of the top N% runners were switching over to it, so nobody was actively running the new route, even though strats were still being developed. Well, nobody except Flower 2. Flower 2 was already a top contender in N%, but after a few months of strat development and practice, managed to complete the first world record using Zobo Overload Arrow Struggle, clocking in at 43 minutes and 38 seconds. This only beat the previous world record by a couple seconds. New route on the map and proved it was worth the effort. But I found it interesting for another reason. Flower 2 used Amiibo, not for speed food. He had scanned the Daruk Amiibo to get the gem instead of going to the Pondside Cave. See, flying straight to the Fuse Shrine doesn't just skip the cave where the Ruby is, it also skips the cooking pot that would be used to cook speed up meals. And in this case, it's actually worth skipping speed food entirely. A lot of the running sections have been replaced by arrows of flight, which isn't affected by speed food. That's stuck after me. Any route, not using Amiibo wasn't quite as punishing, because although it's theoretically faster to scan for a gem, it introduces more RNG, which can easily even up the time saved compared to not scanning. Flower 2 had to scan 7 times to get a topaz, which lost around 20 seconds to a first try scan. Run wasn't optimized yet either, so there was also time to be made up with cleaner execution. And there was one more trick up my sleeve. Send. This was another new routing option that had been floating around for about as long as Zobo Overload Arrow Scroll, but had actually been used before Flower 2's run by serious challenges to get a time of 43:41 just a few weeks prior. By extending the floor is lava logic that we use at the Temple of Time to when we talk to the construct to get the Puripad, it's possible to warp all the way back up to the top island. This makes getting to Ascend even faster than before by cutting out the rest of the climbing we used to do, by instead flying straight there. There are 2 ways of talking to the construct without touching the ground. The first is to use repeated jump slashes to get close to the construct, and then place a wing near the edge of the cliff, or grabbing the wall, that Link can stand on the wing after climbing back up. This doesn't save that much time because the jump slashes are slow and climbing up the wall. The second method is faster and is called Wing Flip. Dropping a wing while diving causes it to flip over, allowing Link to grab it momentarily while it's vertical. This resets the height value that's used to calculate fall damage, which means that we can place down a second wing and land on it without dying. Eric is often to fly straight to the construct while standing on a wing. It looks scary, that's because it is. But it does save a decent chunk of time, and Flower 2's run didn't use it, so if I could pull it off, then I'd be that much closer to closing the gap. On side note, there's an autosave trigger surrounding the island down below that will set Link's respawn coordinates to the top of the stairs outside the water, So even after the flip, it's not as easy as flying straight to the construct. So I started to practice the new route. At this point, it looked like this. Grab a tree branch or two on top of the Rune of Awakening, which we need for Zobel later. Do Wind Flip early ascent, get to the shrine, and then disarm the construct. I get about on the way to fuse, drop down to the bottom.
Using up saturation uses up hydration. That seems to be a rule I've discovered.
Constructs by the quick spot for a second shield, and run to the shrine, picking up another tree branch on the way. Inside of the shrine, perform Subtle Overload Arrow Smuggle, after which almost all of the movement relies on the Bomb Shields and Arrow Smuggle play. This includes skipping the Construct cutscene and fuse, flying to Ultra Hand, flying to the end of Ultra Hand, flying to the Temple of Time, flying to the end of Recall, flying to the Temple of Time again, and finally flying to the end of the Great Sky Island. Everything after is the same as before, but the ceiling loops are around 15 seconds faster because of Arrow Smuggle. And it was difficult. The beginning of the run just keeps getting harder, and the intro cutscene isn't getting any shorter. Arrow Smuggle Flight makes the run a lot more interesting, but it comes at the cost of significant added risk. Missed the pause timing for juggling, lose 10 seconds. Pressed Y slightly too early at any point during the long flight to Ultra Hand, the run's over. Having to reload at any point gets rid of Arrow Smuggle, so that's definitely not allowed. But it makes for a more exciting speedrun, both for the runners and the viewers, so I'm all for the grind. And after a few weeks, I managed to get this run. 43:30, a new world record without using Amiibo. It's a run I was pretty happy with. If you've been keeping up with the leaderboard, you know that's not where the story ends. Like I said earlier, Flower 2's run was just the beginning for Arrow Smuggle Flight, and even better strats were being developed. Like getting a shield using shield surfs after running off a wing, faster through the air while simultaneously losing height quickly. Moving out of balance at the balcony, where there are arrows so that we can do arrow flight without arrows, instead of having to drain stamina every single time. Spotlight tends to go to the record holder, but routing and strat development is a community effort. Shoutouts to Ergyle, Laws, Clouded, Ferris, Andre, Lovely Serious, and everyone else without. For the past couple of months, Brinsley and I have been trading off world records, bringing the time down all the way below 41 minutes. But as much as I liked the No Amiibo route, to a point where I felt satisfied, I didn't really have a goal time in mind for No Amiibo with the route being sent new. But sub 42 seems like the last bit of barrier I could realistically be getting without a big breakthrough. I started running with the route and managed to beat my time using an even faster Arrow Smuggle setup than Amiibo.
I feel like I'm forgetting something.
That's for another video. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. And remember that if you want to see No Amiibo speedruns, you can filter the leaderboard with a few simple clicks. And while you're at it, you might as well click the like button down below.
While Yoshikage Kira might not have the best matchup chart against the top tiers of his own franchise, I think he's capable of doing fairly well against other franchises that have certain limitations for scaling. This is sort of continuing off of my Jotaro against One Piece video, but I feel that I should make the point on its own. Also, for the fact that this video is about Kira, it's also going to be on matchups. I don't think I need a whole video to talk about it. Now, Yoshikage Kira's stand is Killer. His primary ability is the power to turn anything into a bomb. If you're unfamiliar, it's not the same thing as attempting to blow up the character. It fundamentally alters the property of the object or be of the same essence of a bomb. In Killer Queen's case, object or being is exactly who or what they are, whatever they are, property of bomb also added to their title. From a logical standpoint, you can understand this ability through the concept of essential properties. Now, an essential property of a thing is a characteristic that must have to be. A triangle is a triangle because it has 3 sides. If it had one, it would not be a triangle. You get the idea? Now, the essential property here is the explosiveness, or the fact that this thing explodes when the queen presses down on its thumb. Because of this, Killer Queen ignores things like durability, where it lets a character take hits. Durability is, again, like this resistance to external forces that would affect the thing in question. But Killer Queen turning them into a bomb is essentially redefining the properties of whatever is in question. It's not an interaction between 2 forces like a punch in your body, a kick deflecting an energy blast. Being turned into a bomb is the new nature of that object or that entity. So, here's an example, right? Vegeta gives Yoshikage Kira one shot against him. Hello, Kira. I'm Vegeta, and I'm the Spawn Saiyan. Get the idea, right? So, Nox makes his way over to Vegeta. Vegeta can't see it. Plants the bomb. Now Vegeta is the bomb. He was before. Blows a hole. Now, I'm working against the character that's like faster than Kira, that's trying to fight him. We've seen how that works in the show. Character's faster and stronger than Kira, and Kira gets folded every time. But there are an extremely large amount of characters in fiction that a JoJo character will be faster than. With that in mind, Kira could do a lot of damage. Like a lot of damage, I mean completely atomized, like they don't exist anymore. The issues that come with him is the fact that, I guess, he's not travel speed fast, and he's only combat/reaction speed fast. So let's bring up a versus that we had before when someone of high caliber lost, and how Kira could work around that same scenario. Jotaro versus Kizaru. The fight that had started this premise, essentially. Now, Jotaro, while having the ability to stop time and generally be faster than Borsellino, didn't have the attack potency required to effectively damage Boris as is. And Admirals in One Piece get to the point of continent-level durability and strength. And for the most part, that doesn't really exist in a franchise like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But Kira is a specific pocket in the series where he has a hacks ability that help him press forward into a battle like this without the chance of being on the losing end of a standstill, because he has the power to ignore Kizaru's durability and turn him into a bomb, effectively ending the scenario and winning the battle. But, like Jotaro, again, Kira comes with a similar set of limitations that will affect his ability to go about all these types of fights. Firstly, there's his range. Now, while Jotaro and Kira have similar range in terms of combat, as they're both close combat stands, Jotaro has the ability to stop time. So even in a case where Kira could just blow someone up just off of making contact, he most likely can't dodge larger objects or blast that Jotaro could. After the range issues come with the travel speed issues, because while Kira could defend himself at a close enough range, if his opponents were to just destroy the general area around him and strike fear into him, or something along those lines. Even though I'm gonna marry you, it just might work. You know? So, for example, let's say Kira was going against a world-class fighter from some franchise. Let's say it's a higher end Uchiha from Naruto. While Jotaro could do things like stop time and move out of the way of a fireball jutsu, or destroy the ground underneath him to obstruct the blast of sorts. Kira most likely wouldn't consider options like that, as he's never been the one to use his stand strength in the way that Jotaro has. Especially considering that Jotaro just has the stronger stand. Also, I haven't mentioned sheer heart attack and Lexicus due to practicality and function. Because see, sheer heart attack being the one that's exploding puts its strength into question due to the fact that it hasn't necessarily given me a reason to believe that it can also negate her ability. Like, sure, Kira's primary bomb works as is, and I don't have to question that because that effect turns you into the bomb. But sheer heart attack in this instance is still the one that's blowing up. And as for Bite the Dust, I'm not expecting for Kira to have Hayato around for every battle possible, as that's just extremely odd. So yeah, in the same way though that Kira ignores durability, other characters in JoJo have their own things that define what area of characters are most likely not able to beat them. It plays out so normally, considering that there's just not a lot of people that like having versus battle that require that more extra effort. Because usually with a franchise like JoJo, you get characters where it's like, okay, they stomp or another character stomp. That's it, flat out. For example, Rohan Kishibe. I take Rohan Kishibe against a lot of close-range fighters. And let's say more general, so just like general fiction rather than just, moving into JoJo. Some characters are really fast, but he can also ignore her ability through writing moves and double up by subduing the enemy by writing certain commands in there to work for him. Or let's get another person. Vanilla Ice, right? In his stand frame. Large amounts of space that also ignore durability and keeps him safe from getting hurt. He's better set against a lot of characters that are capable of extreme capacities of durability that also are more likely to win a battle of attrition against someone like Jotaro. While yes, we're gonna fight, Jotaro probably has a better battle IQ than Vanilla Ice, can handle his emotions better. He does a lot better than someone like Vanilla Ice. But what happens when you're supposed to fight against a larger character like some sort of giant mech or Susanoo? Even with Jotaro being better than Kira, and Star Platinum being stronger, and probably being able to beat Kira and Killer Queen almost like 99% of the time, while tired, would you rather have in a fight against someone with extremely high durability and or takes up a lot of physical space? I know that a fight like Hashirama Senju, for example, just seems unfathomably possible for a lot of characters, but who would you want to go for? The guy who can stop time really hard. Stopping time is a very busted. It scales above explosions and all that. But there's that, or the one who can blow up whatever tree Hashirama would blow with just one touch. One touch explosion. It's matchups, everything. Matchups say a lot for these. Now, I will say there are more of these iffy matchups with characters that are on paper extremely strong, but due to their feats or lack of information, they're only capable of so much. It doesn't just stop at Vanilla Ice. It doesn't just stop at Killer Queen. Noriko Gucci, for example, in his Maiden Heaven stage of evolution, the stand discs they still exist. Now, while they've used this, does that mean he's capable of removing stands or memories from his opponent? Because if he could, there's a certain matchup like Hashirama that we just mentioned changes extremely because he would be able to blitz and then remove his ability and function entirely. That would make Noriko Gucci a generally better choice than almost every other stand user, even with the fact that if Jotaro had the chance of one-shotting Enrico Pucci and stop time, he would have been able to. But that hinges on the idea that, that Pucci is also able to do the stand-this thing. It hasn't been proven that he's capable of doing so, It's just an idea that makes sense as it's a stand evolution. Gold Experience Requiem still had the ability to give life. Not many, or if any at all, stand evolutions, like, they don't really lose their primary ability. Chariot Requiem lost a lot of what we knew about it originally, but then again, that's an unfinished stand, that's kind of the point. Kira retained his original abilities, he just gained another one. That was that was an evolution of sorts. So logically speaking, and additionally, thematically, consistently speaking too, he shouldn't lose his ability. That itself is a debate. Now, you would think that he is capable of a lot with that in mind, and you're like, you know what, maybe he's also better set for a lot of other matchups too. But again, this is like a case-by-case basis, and I can't really make a matchup chart for these types of things, and a lot of these versus things kind of have to go on with the idea that you're approaching it as is. But certain things are going to be consistent. If a character is weaker, Jotaro, in terms of strength, and they're also lower speed, he's most likely going to win the fight. If they're close in terms of what Jotaro still has to speed, Five could also fight, very possible. Kira, in general, is going to scale over the concept of physical durability because he negates that. And Vanilla Ice, sort of in the same ballpark as that space. It's just how simple it works. And I also want to go as far as to mention Gold Experience Requiem too, because while Gold Experience Requiem isn't capable of the most physical strength possible, it has a better standstill than a lot of other franchises and a lot of other characters. But when you want to get rid of something entirely, just outright win the fight, and use that in combination with your speed, let's say they have comparable speed, then picking Killer Queen over Gold Experience Requiem for a specific matchup that you want to use would work, and it would make sense. It just sounds wild, but again, it is a case-by-case basis. It doesn't mean that Killer Queen is going to be stronger than Gold Experience Requiem. It just means that this is a probably better set fight for this character, whereas GR would just cut to a standstill. There's also the potential of like how exactly GR wants to use with Life Giver ability, and like, oh, let's say it creates specific toxins, and yada yada yada. There's a whole thing about GR versus Goku, but that's there, and it exists. It's a standstill, yada yada yada. But someone like Kira negates durability, and he's not faster than Goku at all. Like, it's like, if given the chance to, could he destroy Goku in one shot? It's like, the signs are pointing to yes. And I think that's one thing I want to get across, because while I do want to do something like another ranking the strongest stands, a lot of that stuff works within the context of JoJo specifically, but I'm also kind of sure that, certain abilities will scale over in the general retrospect, and logic and time stop and yada yada yada, manipulation of that will most likely scale over in most fights rather than picking the guy who negates their ability. And that does make sense, but these types of things require more nuance that I don't think is used when talking about this type of stuff. But yeah, the general idea is Kira Yoshikage is a very strong character. My thing is, I do want to see more comments about how would this and this go, because it's really interesting off of how their powers are. And also, I might consider doing more equalized videos, because certain things like JoJo characters versus JJK characters, you're like, okay, in terms of their actual skill sets, wow, they're really strong and comparable to each other, but JoJo characters are just so much faster for the fight. It's in the fighting form. If that was an utilized area, they're just comparing abilities and skills, hand-to-hand combat, all that. Heads up, that says more for the dialogue and more for the versus in general. I feel like that says more altogether about what these characters are capable of. But I do understand that I'm not trying to utilize anything like the finances, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, this is a speed blitz and the fight's over. But yeah, please tell me what your thoughts on about like more equalized fights and just, I guess, stuff involving certain characters, because we do have a large amount of characters that are strong. It's just that a lot of these battles get easily cleaned up due to speed alone, or just maybe polarizing amount of strength alone. Like someone fighting Goku, for example. Like, okay, that dude's gonna punch right through the planet, even though he can't breathe in space. That would be counterintuitive for him. It's just like, oh yeah, he just punch right through and destroy him. Like, what would you want to see as a figure? Tell me. I'd love to know. Thank you all for watching. This is a more, I guess, more discussion-based video about Power Scaling entirely and Yoshika Akira's skill set. But yeah, tell me how you thought about it. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.
Need more wood. This should hopefully be enough.